Welcome to This Explainer. What actually happens when we outsource our deepest, darkest feelings to AI? Let's dive in. Picture this: using ChatGPT to text your own sister about your mom's devastating medical diagnosis. Sounds crazy, right?
The author chose concise, hit send without a second thought, and just sat there alone in the dark.
Then, a terrifying realization. The relief of dodging those hard words actually showed up way before the grief did. Weeks later, their fancy therapist watched them outsource another text in real time and asked one absolutely piercing question. This perfectly captures the borrowed brain. It's the slow, quiet privatization of the part of you that actually thinks.
You literally have a tiny 7-second window between having a real thought and surrendering it straight to AI. We argue about AI note-taking, but the true disaster, using these models to completely bypass our deepest human emotions. Look, decades of research prove that handwriting about emotional events physically changes your immune function. It's wild.
When you just prompt an AI, all those unmetabolized feelings stay physically trapped right inside your nervous system.
Compare a super expensive modern therapist with Emperor Marcus Aurelius. He processed his heavy emotions totally for free.
The most powerful guy in the world chose the blank page. Why? Because it forces you to do the work.
Here's the kicker, folks. You can absolutely rent intelligence, but you can never ever rent personal emotional growth. If a bot writes the hardest part of your apology or condolences, that message is basically just a useful forgery. Messy, embarrassing, handwritten notes are so much more valuable than a perfectly polished AI text. Trust me on this.
So how do we actually fix this? Let's look at 3 analog steps to put friction back into your life. First up, delete that AI app. It severs the instant thought-to-thumb reflex and kills the habit in a week. Second, handwrite your emotional drafts. That physical friction forces your nervous system to genuinely carry the weight of your thoughts.
Finally, the 9 p.m. page. Write one page every night without rereading it to discover what you actually feel.
Bringing this explainer full circle, months later, the author gets another completely heartbreaking phone call from their sister.
But this time, the lights were on. They grabbed a notebook to process the grief directly, showing up 100% authentically. So take a hard look at your own habits. Are your hardest messages just useful forgeries? Think about it.